Hello and welcome. I'm Patrick Curtis, your host and chief monkey, and this is the Wall Street Oasis podcast. Join me as I talk to some of the community's most successful and inspirational members to gain valuable insight into different career paths and life in general. Let's get to it. In this episode, member J Kim 219 shares his story graduating during the financial crisis in 2008. Hear about what it was like to work at a prop trading shop that requires you to put up your own money, what he did when he burned out and quit, and finally, how he turned it all around. Enjoy. Junil 315, thanks for joining the Wall Street Oasis podcast.
Thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here.
So it'd be great if you could give just everybody a quick summary of your background.
Yeah, sure. So currently I work in one of a Fortune 100 major U.S. company as a corporate development team. Work on in M&As and other inorganic investment opportunities and assess their strategic fit, and also do valuation and due diligence work to make sure that we execute them. We identify good targets and execute them in good manner. So previously, I worked in investment banking at Bulge bank, and also other few boutique investment banks. Mainly covering industrials world, but also have some experience in energy sector as well.
Very cool. And so you graduated at a really tough time during the financial crisis.
Right.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that and what it was like recruiting? Did you have like the typical summer analyst internships coming out of school?
I didn't, and I regret to say that I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do at that time. And really, if I look back, I should have been more diligent in recruiting and making more networks. I mean, I'm happy where I got to right now, but it certainly could have been easier if I had follow the right steps at that point. Having said that, you mentioned the experience graduating in the financial crisis era. It definitely was tough time. I specifically remember, it sounds like history lesson now, but I mean, I remember Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns were two major, recruiters at my college. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading a newspaper. I actually interned right across Lehman Brothers in my junior year. And I specifically remember one day everyone was talking about, hey, Lehman Brothers bankrupt, literally just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And and from that point on, I guess people kind of predicted in some sense because they stopped coming to our school. And obviously for graduating students, that was tough because you lost major two investment banks you could have gone to. And I remember even...
But banking wasn't even on your radar then, right?
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, I still wasn't sure if I wanted the banking at the time, but I still studied business, so I know a lot of my friends and friends back then. Even like top students were having tough time getting into major banks. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it's like. I'm sure it's pretty tough, these days as well. But
so looking at your background, it looks like, right after you graduated, were you living at home? What was the struggle like to get a job, or like, what did you, because I know a lot of people just, even from top school,
yeah,
it was super almost impossible.
Yeah, right. I mean, so I ended up joining, a prop trading shop right after I graduated. Wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do, but I just couldn't stay unemployed right after my school years. And
was this one of these prop shops that is like you have to put up your own money, and it's like one of those like places where they back you, but then a lot of people just flame out?
Exactly. I mean, I guess I was
how much do you have to put up, and tell me like what the setup was, because I'm always curious about like
Right.
what it's like in the inside of these
Oh
prop
yeah,
shops.
sure. I mean,
They take advantage of a lot of kids, right?
really, yeah, exactly. Really not a good memory. I was there for about a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Probably put up about few rands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I think about it now, it's not much, but back then, being a broke recent college graduate, it was a lot of money for me. But
Yeah.
I felt like I had to at least do something at the time,
Yeah.
and I kind of thought of it as a lesson fees to learn something.
Okay, that's fair. So you're like, maybe this trading thing might be for me. I'm gonna just
Hmm.
go to this prop shop. If it works out, maybe there you could actually do pretty well if you trade, if you
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So
exactly. Mhm.
what were you trading specific types of securities? Tell me that,
Right.
like, did they give you any guidance or trading, or they just kind of threw you to the wolves and give you like a Bloomberg terminal? What was that like?
Yeah. So you're right that top traders, even in these small prop shops, they do make good money, and they survive. But it's just that what I my experience and what I learned from there was that a lot of trading skill set. I feel like it's kind of in nature,
Mm,
if you know what I mean, rather than
yeah,
something you can pick it
you're
up and learn from it.
you're born
Learn.
with it. Yeah, you're born.
Yeah, yeah, you do need that, instinct and natural skill set. You can really study, um, and I guess that I found out that really wasn't my natural skill set I possess.
So tell me about that. Where did you quickly lose the the $2,000? Did you like tell me, like, you're anonymous, so that's the good part, is you can kind of tell me all the gory details and not
Right.
but
You
just,
mean,
yeah, was
yes,
it, you don't have to tell me the firm or the company name, but like,
right.
so you walk in day one, they're like, do you write a check? Tell me the whole experience of like going into a prop shop, because I don't think we've had a guest like be
I
honest
see.
about that or tell us about that.
Yeah. So, you know, you need to pay, write a check, once you join, that's pretty much a precondition to join the
Yeah.
company. And from day one, they, mentor you, so to say. But really, if I think about it, it's really not much you can learn because, nothing's really structured.
Hmm.
But I guess you start from small money, and I think you kind of do virtual trading for about a month or so. And when your manager think you're ready to trade real money, then you start trading with
So that
mhm.
month, so you write the check of, let's say, was it $2,000, $5,000? Do you
Yeah,
remember?
around the ballpark.
Okay, so a couple $1,000, you write a
Mhm.
check. They give you a seat in their office, and basically
Right,
what's there, like a couple screens, and
right.
you're looking at what types of markets, like the equity market, bonds,
So for me, I was focusing on equity.
and equities.
Yeah, but I know that there are other prop shops who focus on like things products such as options, and
Was it small cap, big, like certain industries, or just anywhere?
anywhere public, anything publicly trading stocks.
And so they were like, basically just see if you can trade virtually profitably,
Right,
do whatever you
right.
want, basically do whatever you want. Um, and
I
was
mean,
was there a mentor like that you watched for a while to try and
there
learn what
was,
they were doing?
there was, yeah. I mean, there was, there are a few actually that they kind of pair you with, and they expect you to learn from them. But what I realized was that there really isn't much to learn, so to
Tell me
say.
why. Like, were the people they paired you with, were
Right.
they not that successful, or were these? Sorry, I'm just moving this light here. It's a little bright in this
Yeah.
corner. Were they not that successful, or was it that you couldn't replicate what they were doing because it was so just all over the place?
Probably more latter. I mean, there were some successful traders. I
Yeah,
mean, if you can survive in an environment for over 12 months, you know you're going to be successful. The chances are, most of the people will drop out within 12 months.
got it.
And, then what I realized, sitting next to these successful traders were, I mean, they just have different mentality that I can't replicate oftentimes. And, if you,
Like a
if
gambler personality, like they like to,
kind of, kind of, I mean,
they're not nervous,
yeah, they're not nervous, they're not afraid of
risk.
losing money and gaining money. And, it's easy to put that on paper, like you need to trade a certain way. I mean, I try to mimic every strategies they laid out to us,
Hmm.
but it's the timing is such a big part of it, and there's certain instincts they just can't describe.
Hmm.
It,
Do you think it's all a rude? Do you think it's all? Do you think it's some of these people that have been there for several years? They truly had some just the trader mentality, and they had. Do you feel like that's continued, or have you heard of any of these people? Have you stayed in touch with any of them that were there?
uh, I did. Yeah, I have stayed in touch with a few friends I made there,
And did
but
any of them stay? Did any of them stay and are still?
no,
No.
no. I mean, if I remember, all those who were successful and survived their environment pretty much was all same type of people.
Like
Um,
what? What were they like?
yeah, very aggressive, you know, not afraid to express their emotions. And, I mean, not in a bad way. I really have good, big respect for them because that's something I can't do.
So were they like screaming at the screen, like,
Oh yeah, oh
like
yeah,
that kind of emotion expressed? Like
yeah. I
they,
mean, there was like this, at the corner of the room was a pile of keyboards. People just smashed, like just and yeah, I mean, yeah, it was every single second you hear f bombs drop here and there, and you know I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there were like a graveyard for smashed monitors, somewhere in in the back of the room. But yeah, it was that's what the kind of type of environment was, and I just figured that's just not me. I mean, I
okay.
tried it out because I couldn't find anything, after graduation. Not to blame the
Those,
market, but
I totally get it. Like you figured, might as well do this. It's something,
yeah.
rather than nothing. And yeah, I commend you for taking a swing. Question, like, so you said you still keep in touch with those people. They all left. Are any of them traders still?
No,
No. What are they doing?
no.
Like out of the couple people you stayed in touch with?
Yeah, I mean, the guy I, was close with, he's pretty much, employee of major corporate.
Mm-hmm.
I think he does like a sales and marketing stuff.
Okay.
Some of them went to do finance like I do right now.
Okay.
Um,
Like
yeah, so
corp dev type stuff. And,
yeah, investment related, I think. Not too
okay.
sure, but
Cool. So that's kind of how you took your swing. You basically figured quickly out, like you lost the money, whatever they said, oh, it's not for you. What did that feel like when you walked out of that office for the first time? Was it devastating, or were you just relieved to get out of there?
uh, yeah, but mix of both, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And
What about your parents? What were they saying during all this?
oh, they yeah, what I actually think about it, what I appreciate still is they kind of remain silent,
Mm.
even though they saw me struggle. I guess
You think that was good because they kind of let you fall, because it
I
let you kind of be
I
sure?
think so. I think so. I mean, my parents are very strict and very involved in my life back then.
Mm-hmm.
But to my surprise, they remained silent, even though when they found out that I quit the job and still, I'm searching for another opportunity.
Got it.
Um,
Now, when you lose your money at a prop shop like this, are you forced to put up more of your own cash if you want to continue? How does that work?
Uh,
Or did
no,
you just
that's
quit? Did you just quit because you just didn't want to do it anymore?
yeah. I mean, I could have put up a little more money if I wanted to stay,
Right.
but just didn't want to do it anymore.
Okay, fair. So then you kind of had to regroup, right? It was kind of a very tough start to a career. Is that
Right.
fair? Is that fair to say?
Yep.
So then
Yep.
you had to regroup. How did you get your footing? What was the first kind of job where you felt like, okay, I could see myself doing this, or at least this is a job?
Yeah. So I realized. Yeah. So I realized what I want to do, and my skill set is really geared toward analytics, and so I wanted to do. I mean, I was still very interested in field of finance and economics.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured wanted to be analyst, and so started applying here and there, and fortunately picked up by one of the boutique investment banks in New York.
Okay.
Really, small shop, very regional. Uh,
And you were there for a couple of years, it
yeah, I
sounds like.
was there for yes, I was there. I was in their analyst program pretty much.
Yep.
Really focused on transportation industry specifically,
Okay. And it was a pretty small bank, focused on
right?
transportation. And you basically, what were the hours like? Was it like super long, like a typical analyst program, like 80, 100-hour weeks, or was it a little more reasonable? I know boutiques can go either way. They can skew either way.
Yeah, I mean it it swings, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember some of the days I I'd stay there until 2 to 3 a.m.
Hmm.
Some of the days I could have just worked from home if I wanted because there's nothing going on.
Do you remember how you actually got that initial boutique investment banking job? Because it was still a bad time for the economy. It was still,
Yeah.
how did you land that after, being basically having that one um,
Mhm.
horrific experience at the prop shop? And then
Right.
how did you actually leverage it? Were you networking? What were you doing?
I I got really lucky. I mean, I applied everywhere, anywhere online,
Hmm.
and this was a small shop, and they were in need of someone urgent because someone, one of their the small shop, but one of the analysts in there left, so they really really needed to backfill. So I have to say it wasn't as high paying as major investment banks.
Hmm.
Um,
It
and
was a
that's
job,
probably
though.
why
It was a
it was
job.
job. Exactly, it was job.
In
So
2010, it was a job in banking. So I don't
exactly,
care what they paid you. I mean,
exactly.
even if it's 50,000 base, 40,000 base, doesn't matter. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That was my mentality back then. I
yeah,
at least need to start somewhere,
yeah.
and so probably I'm assuming there were many candidates who were excited to accept a paycheck, but I was.
Hmm.
And so I started working there. It
So
was a great experience.
how did you even get the interview? It was through an online application.
It was just online application. They just called me in, so put me, asked me to, they set up a, on-site interview in New York. So I met few of the managers there,
Hmm.
and to my surprise, they wanted to be, they wanted me to join. So
That's interesting to me. Do you think it was because almost like you didn't push back on the low compensation? You
actually, yeah, I mean, I guess, I mean, wow, this is
like
why I
I know
want
it's a,
to,
I know it's a long time ago, but there's some
yeah,
really interesting insight to me there about
right.
you like being willing to just really just eat shit for a couple of years, to be frank, and like them being like, cheap labor, motivated
Right.
is what we need. So tell me about how you communicated that with your
Yeah.
in a nicer way.
So I guess, I mean, it was lucky in my part to even get a chance, of the interview because, you know, that doesn't happen often if you just apply online, right?
Right, that is lucky. Yep.
Yeah. But when I got the opportunity, being a desperate, unemployed person, I really, really tried to leverage that opportunity and, and prepare an interview in such way. I
Was that the only interview you had landed in banking or in anything or
That was only one. That was
wow.
only I mean, I interviewed with a few other corporate jobs.
How long did you have before you knew you were interviewing with them to the actual interview, on-site interview?
Wow,
A week?
probably like a week, I would say.
Not much, right? So were
Yeah,
you just going crazy that week studying and like trying to get ready?
yeah, exactly. I mean, I never went through. I don't even know if like Wall Street, you know, your platform or something like
We were around, but we weren't as big. 2010.
right,
Yeah, we were around. I was in business school then, actually.
right.
Um, yeah,
I
but we
mean,
had just released our interview courses. They were all pretty
I
new.
see. I mean,
Yeah,
if I knew, I probably would have
it would have
taken
helped
advantage
you a
of
lot.
it.
It would have
Oh,
helped
of
you.
course. I mean, I really didn't have good technical background other than my school learning.
Right.
Um, so
Did they did they ask you to walk them through a DCF or any of that stuff, or they didn't care?
not really. But what I did was I really really tried to understand their business and the people I'm interviewing with a lot. I mean, this is back when we didn't have LinkedIn,
Okay. So how
and
did you do that? How did you do research?
I
Just Google it?
you went through the website, searches everything I can possibly, find,
Yeah.
and try to understand what they do. And also, like I guess my weapon was to try to show them how willing I am and how, you know,
But that's an important point. I think the research, everyone should do that. That's kind of
right,
like just the cost of entry. But the fact that you really showed the willingness and almost a
hmm
little bit of the desperation,
right,
I think for an employer, rather than somebody coming in who's, maybe they come from money or they don't really need the job,
hmm
it's not as attractive to hire that person because it's like, where's the
yeah,
hunger?
totally.
So,
I mean, yep.
so tell me a little bit about like, so I think your secret weapon was the fact that you're just willing and
hmm
very eager, and they probably sensed that.
Right.
Um, did you feel like, so were you surprised when you got the offer,
I remember I was, yes.
but
What I
excited?
very excited. I mean,
Awesome.
yeah, it felt like it was the first real job after graduation.
Hmm.
So
That's great, man. Must have been an amazing feeling, especially after
yeah,
what you had gone through. So you're there for a couple of years. Tell me about that next transition and what was the thought process, of leaving that first firm and what,
yeah,
and going to another one.
yeah. So being a boutique bank, I realized there's a ceiling,
Hmm.
and I wanted to take a next step in moving into you know, I mean, I did I really enjoyed the work there. Learned a ton. You know, I think there's a really good perks in being in a small firm where you're responsible for a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, I I finally decided that okay, this is my career path. I want to do more finance and more transactions. But I realized that there are bigger banks and bigger financial institutions that I can join. So I, you know, tried searching and searching, but I, realized, it's not easy,
Hmm.
um, especially after you graduate.
Yeah. And this is 2012. Where at this point, were you using LinkedIn yet or other networking?
No,
Still not.
yeah, it was just, friends of friends,
Yeah.
try to search
Online,
something. Yeah,
online
exactly.
resume drops.
Online resume drops.
Yeah.
Anyone I found, connected through work, I sent them an email, whether I get, they reply or not. And so, I realized I, need some help.
Hmm.
That I need to be in some platform where I can rebrand myself.
Okay.
And at that time, I moved into my second job, but my mindset still was after moving in there. Okay, situation got a little better. Like the next company I worked for,
Hmm.
did have a better brand, but still, I wanted to be in more major banks who do major transactions.
Right.
And I realized I need help, and I wanted to go to business school.
Okay.
So
So why did you choose the school that you chose? Why did you, so
mhm.
you realized quickly that you felt you needed to rebrand. at the bank,
Right.
at this larger bank. You did that, but it wasn't like one of the bulge bracket, really well known
Hmm.
banks. So you're
Hmm.
thinking, maybe business school is the path I need to go
Right.
in order to get in there. So
Yeah.
I think that's perfectly logical. So you ended up going to a top business school.
Right.
Um, Tell me about that whole process. Was it a 1 year program, a 2 year program? And then did you know right away, like, definitely I want to go invest in banking? I want to, do that coming out, or?
Yeah, so I went to business school overseas, as you probably can see from my resume. It was
Yep.
still a top business school.
Yep.
But I mean, number one, the reason I chose to seek opportunities outside of the U.S. was because always wanted to be international.
Hmm.
So the I found it attractive to. I mean, as much B school is important for your career, but I also wanted to be in the place where I can have a very good experience and meet a lot of people, meet a lot of different people. So that that makes sense to me. Um, at the same time, it's probably not always the best way to pick and choose B school, but cost wise, it made more sense than versus top MBAs in the US.
Okay.
And also timing wise, it was shorter than the B schools in the US. At the time, I just couldn't afford to have another
2 years.
200 grand loan and spend 2 years of time unemployed.
Did you have a $200,000 of debt from your undergrad?
I No, luckily, yes, I did have some
Some.
debt, but not as much.
Okay.
Um,
Like 100 or 50 or something like that.
yeah, around that part, in a
Yeah.
ballpark.
Okay. So you're like, I can't go back to business school and make it a 2 year vacation like
Hmm.
a lot of people and take on a ton of debt.
Right.
You had been paid not very much as an analyst for your 2 years, and then maybe a
Hmm.
little bit more at a slightly larger bank, but still not. You're not bringing in $150,000 a year, right?
No, I'm not.
Um,
Yep.
and so you go overseas. How do you actually end up getting back to a bulge bracket in New York?
Yeah. So, I mean, the intention when I joined, the B school was, I really didn't care about location on or where I want to work. I mean,
Got it.
as long as it's a good job and something that I would enjoy, it didn't matter to me whether it's Asia, Europe, or America.
That's great. Opens up a lot of doors.
Yeah, exactly. And I was, so yeah, so I mean, I really try to stay, you know, open for any opportunities. Also, investment banking really wasn't that necessarily wasn't my top choice, but I realized from B school, if I want to get really good experience and go through, good training system and learn more,
Yeah.
that's probably was my best option.
What was your top choice then going in?
I wanted to
Consult.
be in more of a actual investment company,
So like hedge fund or private equity
Yeah,
shop or
PEs,
something.
hedge funds, or even like investment arms of corporates or other institutions.
Okay. So, but then, after maybe talking to some of your classmates, you realize
Hmm.
banking is probably the first step or the good
Yeah,
transition.
even though I did have banking background, I realized that there is benefit of going through investment banking program in real bulge brackets.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, I was pretty confident of my technical ability. So,
Yep.
um, I thought, okay, so that may be a good segue before I get, before I go to anywhere else.
Right.
So, I include investment banking in my opportunity search, and I was applying anywhere,
So New
around the
York,
world. Yeah, New
London.
York, Hong Kong,
And so
London.
when you're interviewing with New York, you had to explain why you wanted New York. When you're interviewing in London, you had to explain why London.
Right, right.
It can make
Yeah,
it can make it challenging, right?
I mean, yes, but luckily, the New York recruitment. If you understand like timings of these recruiting cycles,
Yeah.
U.S. often is always a first,
Okay.
and London and Hong Kong they kind of come, later.
Okay.
So by the time I was getting into London or Hong Kong recruiting cycle, I already had an offer from New York.
Got it. So
So, that kind of took care of everything. Everyone was jealous that I already have a job.
you already had the job and that was it.
Yeah,
And so you knew,
exactly.
hey, this is where I'm going for my
Right. I didn't
summer
want to risk
associate.
it. Yeah,
Did
right.
you have a summer associate
I
gig?
did. I
Okay, so
did.
you did that, and was it something where you did summer associate then started right away, full time after, or you had?
Yes,
Mhm.
because I mean, obviously I joined, the next cycle.
Oh, so you
Um,
had some time off.
yes. So yes, I did a summer after my first year
Hmm.
B school, and I joined full time the next year. But I joined a little earlier than my peers because my school, being in outside of US, ended a little earlier.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's kind of
So I
nice.
think my colleagues joined probably like August or September, while I joined like I think it was March or February maybe.
So you had
Um,
officially had the rebrand from a strong international business school. You now had officially the rebrand of a strong bulge bracket bank, and you kind of were going in expecting it to be similar to your analyst days. Did you expect it to be harder, easier? And then what was reality?
sorry,
Yeah, can you hear me?
yeah, sorry, Patrick, you're breaking a little bit.
I was just saying that, you had the experience, the analyst experience, which,
Mhm.
so you weren't going in blind. Did you expect after the rebranding of the business
Mhm.
school and now the Bulge Bracket Bank, did you expect it to be harder, easier?
Yeah,
What did you think? And what was reality?
I I expected to be harder,
Hmm.
which it was,
Hmm.
but I also found myself enjoying it a lot.
Okay.
At it's it's kind of a, I don't know. Everyone I speak to in investment banking, it's kind of a love-hated relationship.
Hmm.
It's it is very tough environment where you're expected to perform at very high level and spend 20 hours a day in the office, which was true.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I mean, it was exciting in a way that you work with very smart people. You work with these, highly important business people around the world, and you get to see a lot.
So what?
I
So
mean,
did it ever
more than
cross
I
your
expected in so many ways.
did it ever
And it
cross your
was very,
mind that
and being in Bulge bracket was very different from.
so did it ever cross your mind to stay? Did you ever think, hey, maybe I'll stay long term? Not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah, sorry, Patrick, I couldn't hear you. You're
Uh,
breaking up. It was
yeah,
getting
I was just saying, did you ever consider staying? Did you ever?
uh, yeah, yes, I did. I guess, if you ask me why I left, it wasn't because, the I didn't like the, scope of work I am doing. I just, being in, sell side investment banking for a while, including my experience before B school. I hit the point where I hit the point where I realized like I need to be a salesperson.
Hmm.
And again, uh, that's well, I figured that's not who I am. And also, working in investment banking, working with these, your corporate and private equity clients, I was truly curious about being on the other side of the table. Wanted to see the transaction and finance world from different lens, like, because being an investment banker, you are uh, you are a supporting team for your clients to execute the transaction, but they don't necessarily share everything with you.
Right.
And you are not close, and you are their best friends in that short span of time, but you don't get to see how the business are actually are run, and you don't get to understand what what is truly going on, behind those numbers.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your transition from associate
Yeah.
at a bulge bracket investment banking to
Mhm.
trying to find your next role in corporate development. Was that something you knew targeted corporate dev, or did you start kind of applying to other roles as well?
Yeah, I mean, Corp Dev was my, you know, the target from the beginning when I, started actively searching for exit opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I found a private equity job, maybe, that's probably was also very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
But number one, in reality, it's for associate, it's hard to get a private equity job.
Oh yeah, almost impossible.
Yeah, almost impossible.
I've actually interviewed a few on this podcast. Two,
Right.
two out of like, but they're super rare.
Yeah,
That's why I have them on, because I'm like, how did you do it?
exactly. I saw a few, but I mean, I don't think there was any special, recipe into it.
Yeah. So
But
you're
anyway,
so
yeah.
corporate development seemed like the most reasonable and most attractive kind of opportunity out there. So was it a long recruiting process for you? Was it easy? Were recruiters reaching out to you? How did you go about the search? Were you using LinkedIn at this point? Were you using LinkedIn
So,
or no?
oh yeah, I was I was fully using LinkedIn at this point.
Okay, good.
So I mean the not only using LinkedIn, but I had few managers who left my team and joined corporate development of a few major corporates. So I
Yeah.
started reaching out to them. I also asked for referrals through my managing directors.
Hmm.
Um, I could only ask because they were leaving my bank.
Got it. Yeah. So you
Yeah,
weren't asking for referrals from people who were staying there because they probably would have been really pissed.
exactly. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, this guy's already exiting out from my bank, and I spend hours and hours, for this guy. So
Yeah.
I felt that I at least have that, I deserve that opportunity to,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, which he, um, really thankfully helped me out. He connected me to one of the major corporates, corporate development client of his. Didn't turn out, turn it, I didn't end up going there because they weren't necessarily looking for someone at that moment.
Yep.
But I guess that's the way I went about it. Really reaching out through my peers who left or about to leave, and also through LinkedIn, which to my surprise actually landed my interview as well. Again, and not ended up going in there, but that was a big win for me.
That's great. So how did you end up at your actual role? What was the link that actually turned out to be fruitful?
Oh yeah, so for this one, my ex, director um, joined my current company like
Hmm.
about a year before. So after he left, about after 12 months, is when I was, uh, this is when I started actively searching for it. I reached out to him and asked if he has any opportunities, available in his team. And, thankfully at that time, yes, he was actually he was one of his team members left, and he was in search of finding someone. So
So was that like do you feel like it was a done deal once you reached out since you already had that working relationship with
no,
him? No,
no, not at all.
it was still competitive.
Yeah, yes, I would say it was still competitive. I had to still meet the head of a group, interview with probably good five or six other, you know, corp dev M&A related, people.
Talk to me about those interviews. Were they similar to banking in the sense that the corp dev M&A, like are they expecting you to know a lot about M&A and the process? Are they testing you on that, or are they testing you more on the specific industry that your corporate is in?
It was less focused on industry itself, but more about your M&A and transaction experiences.
Okay.
Um,
Like
at
your deals specifically.
my deals and my deliverables to my clients, back
Hmm.
in my investing days, and how I went about it. There wasn't like modeling test or anything like that at this stage of my career,
Got
but they expected to me to be a technical for sure.
Okay.
So
So that was
yeah,
that. So you
yeah,
ended
that
up
was
getting,
a.
you ended up landing it, and you've been there ever since. And how are you enjoying it? The corp dev. How is the pace compared to banking?
Oh, it's great. I really enjoy my job, honestly.
Did you have to take a big pay cut, or was it similar pay?
There was pay cut.
There was a pay cut. Yep.
Base wise, corp dev probably matches your, investment banking or PE jobs, I would
Like
say.
what, 125, 150?
Uh, I got more than that
Okay.
from a base. I mean, but I also understand it depends on industry you're going in, and it also depends on, like, there isn't like a set
Yeah.
pay level like investment banking.
Okay. And then specifically, the bonus is obviously much smaller.
But bonus is not smaller.
Yeah.
As you go up, I mean, some of them, incentivize you with, their stock options and stuff, which could be big.
Yeah.
But definitely you're not talking about 150%, bonus you get in P's or
You're
investment
more
banking.
like 20-30%, something like that. Is that fair? Or
Yeah, for
not?
cash part, yes, it could.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So, anything else you want to share before we call it? It's been interesting to hear, especially I really enjoyed the part about the prop trading because I don't think we've heard about that, even though it's probably a painful thing to relive. So, thank you for doing that. Tell me a little bit. Anything else you want to share, kind of with your younger self? If you could go back and
Yeah.
give your younger self advice back in 2008, nine, what would you say?
Man, I would say you always need to stay curious and humble. Meaning that, you really, really have to. I mean, a lot of people join this industry for money,
Mm-hmm.
but if you don't have time to spend your money, it really doesn't mean much. and and the down the road, I guess it does, but um, people that I have met in this industry who have been most successful are the ones who are always curious and engaged in the market, and they're truly, truly interested in learning more and digging deep into the business, not just the numbers and modeling itself, but they're always they always stay ahead of the market. They always learn more about transactions that are happening right now. So really, I would advise to really ask yourself whether you're really enjoying this and curious to learn more, and that probably tells you whether you want to stay in this industry or not, because it does really get to you, the level of stress and everything. um, but at the same time, I wish people can stay humble. Oftentimes, you know all these glamorous life that they describe about investment banking and financial industry, and the position you're in, and if it feels like it empowers you. Well, which is true, and you probably deserve that because you probably work your ass off, to get to where you are. But always, I think you need to understand, you are very fortunate
Yeah.
that you are selected, and you're able to work here. So
Appreciate the luck that's gone into it. So, don't think it's all you.
yeah, it could very well be someone next to you on your interview.
Right. Right.
Oftentimes.
Cool. Well, I
So
think we'll leave it at that. It's a good reminder to stay humble and stay curious. So thank you for your time.
awesome. No worries, Pat.
And thanks to you, my listeners at Wall Street Oasis. If you have any suggestions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to send them my way, Patrick at wallstreetoasis.com. Until next time.